The Booktrust Stories Tour was put together to reach communities and venues that don't normally have much interaction with theatre or live literature. We put together a new story commissioned from Irfan Master, the children's author, and worked with actors and local storytellers to tour around the country, reaching over 1,500 children in the 6 months we were on tour.
We selected the actors through a more conventional route, so we put a casting breakdown out, and by that I mean we typed up what the roles were that we were looking for, and then we distributed them amongst social media sites, amongst the casting sites, on the internet, through publications, and then we waited for actors to submit. I also work a bit in the casting world, so I was looking on something called Spotlight, which is a big directory for actors, and I was looking at actors who might fit our brief.
I got involved with the this Booktrust project through a local Somali charity organisation called Oscar, who had a wide range of Somali children, and they wanted them to meet a real-life Somali storyteller.
The contact came through the publisher, Francis Lincoln. They got in touch and said, would I be interested? And I'm always interested in ways of getting families thinking about stories and enjoying stories.
The Booktrust Stories Tour was funded by the Arts Council and Booktrust Children's Reading Fund. We worked in partnership with the charity Pact to visit 60 different events around the country in 10 different areas, 3 in London, 3 in the West Midlands, 3 in the north of England and Cardiff and Wales. So we're going to those areas where typically there's less engagement in the arts, and within those areas we're targeting communities that have been identified as engaging less in the arts as well. So we're particularly targeting Bangladeshi, Pakistani and Somali families, and including the languages that those families speak at home as part of the play.
I always assumed, because the UK has such a great tradition of theatre, I really kind of assumed everybody was exposed to it from a very young age, and I was a bit taken aback when I found out that there were pockets of communities or families that have never had the chance, or that don't know where it is, or it's not local to them, or it's a very big, expensive kind of middle class thing to do, to go to theatre.
So, within the Asian community, art can be quite a negative thing to do. However, you can reach out to so many people through the art. You can educate, and it's a different way of educating people around you.
Lots of communities have oral storytelling traditions that Irfan, our author, was talking about. People are too busy to share those stories, and actually by doing stories in people's own languages, reminding them that they have all those stories to tell as well, and they can share them in whatever language they want with their children, and it's about that connection and that time sharing stories more than anything else. Part of our project is about reaching hard to reach communities wherever they are. We worked in prisons, in libraries, community centres, children's centres, temples, just really trying to get the show and the storytelling experience we put together out to communities that wouldn't necessarily have access to the arts and those kind of events.
So we got approached by Booktrust last year in June about this project, and as one of the more deprived boroughs and a really multicultural borough, we were delighted to have an opportunity to have a really multilingual show that would attract a lot of different families.
Aston Mansfield has 3 themes within the way it works, and they cover lifelong learning, community development and healthy living. And this event that we're running in conjunction with the Book Trust is excellent because it's helping us with that lifelong learning.
We're looking for an interventions programme. We do a lot of work around families and prisoners, strengthening family ties, and our CEO had spoken to Book Trust about doing an arts tour. And so we were approached by Booktrust in the very early days, which I wasn't really part of, to apply for some funding. And we knew that the Booktrust people were going around the community centres and the libraries. They really were quite interested in getting into the actual prisons. So that's where Pact came in to liaise with the prisons to get the actors and the tour getting into the prisons.
We've done workshops with the men in the mornings, and then had the families come and visit in the afternoon to watch the show and share the books with their
with their dads.
The initial bit before the family joins in, that for me is even more powerful than the actual bit because that's when the change happens. The change will happen in the morning, and that bit to see the guys when they come in all timid, not showing what to expect, and before they go out onto their lunch time, they're bright and bubbly, and that transformation, they're no longer a named person. They start telling you their first name. When they come in, a lot of them will say their surname. And by the time they start giving you their first name, and that's they build a relationship, they feel comfortable, and you've created something for them that they can then go and talk about. So they get that excitement.
We've been doing the project, we've been trying to talk to venues about how to make sure that the place is suitable for what we're bringing in. So there's little things that people can do that makes a really big difference. So making sure there's parking available for the van, welcoming the actors, offering them tea and coffee, and just someone being on site and on hand to help them and answer any questions can make a really big difference when you're bringing actors and performers into the space.
Quite a lot of venues aren't used to having theatre. I'd say that was the rare event, but it does happen maybe once, twice a week. And I think at those places, really listen to the pre-meeting. But it's really nice just to have that human kindness when you arrive somewhere, which 9 times out of 10 we've had. And it does make all the difference in the world. Oh, we've got you a little room in the back to get changed in for your modesty. And do you want tea or coffee? We've got to put a few. You go inside the little room and they've put a plate of biscuits there for you. And it's just lovely. It's like going to your mum's. And so you know at those venues, the audience will be looked after as well.
We've worked with the local venues on their marketing and really tried to listen to them and give them the opportunity to do what they think is best in terms of marketing, because they know their communities better than we can. Quite a few people put adverts in their local language papers or promote it through social media, through Facebook. So some people would do press adverts, pay quite a lot for them. Other people focus more on word of mouth and internet. So there's a real range of things you can do at different prices that can bring people in. We worked with volunteers in as many venues as we could, and we offered a training session for them, which basically encompassed what we were doing, why we were doing it, and how they could encourage people in their community to come along. And it was really nice to be able to pass that information on to people in the community and empower them to go out and tell their friends to come along and enjoy the show and bring their children and understand why and how we were doing it.
Well, for the charity, the community charity, so one manager said we having that event. I was excited. I came along and I took all my friends in my neighborhood, all those ladies with their children. I showed them the leaflet and I explained it's not far, it's somewhere near, and it's all about children progress and on top of their reading. And I just use my language obviously to explain really how is like the event will be.
We assumed that we need to print posters in lots and lots of different languages, and actually the feedback that came back from lots of different places was English was the most effective language to get the message out. So taking that on board and learning from that's been really useful.
Who thinks they come to events like this a lot?
We're working with the University of Sheffield to evaluate the project, and they've asked each of the venues to fill in some forms. We've been trying to work out a way to do the evaluation that isn't too language based. We want to reach people who are less confident in English, who are less likely to want to fill out forms. So it's been really interesting for us to find ways with the university to capture that data. We've been doing lots of evaluation through observation. At the start of the show, we'll ask some questions to find out the age of the children, if anyone's been to events like this before. And again, at the end, we'll ask some more questions, see whether people enjoyed it, whether they'd recommend it to a friend. And finally, we have some posters for when people leave, so they can stick a sticker on the area, whether they pay for the show, how much they pay, whether they've come to the venue, and any other comments that they have. And we've been working with the community to make sure that all of those are translated where appropriate, that people are supported to fill out the evaluation so they get to put their point across.
We've had nothing but positive feedback. People wish that there were more events like this.
Really enjoyed it and hope to see you again.
We've learned a lot over the course of the project about how to reach out to different groups, about how to try and juggle and coordinate 40 different venues so they all know what's happening, where they're going to be. We've learned a lot about working with actors and about putting shows together, which was something new for Booktrust. and has worked incredibly well, like bringing literature to life and sharing stories in a live environment. It's been brilliant, but it has been challenging trying to get our heads around equity rules and all of that kind of thing. But I think when you see the children and the parents interacting with the show and really getting involved with that interaction, it's totally worth it. It's great that now we've kind of collected all that information together, we're in a position to share that with other people and try and encourage more of this to happen, because it's great to see. We then leave a legacy, so in future if people are looking to tour to these venues, or those venues want to have more arts and more culture coming to them, that's already been put in place, so we can follow that up with more events for these communities.